Welcome to Voices of Hope. I'm your host, Omar Kenyatta Clark, and this is a brave space, a space where vulnerability meets courage, and where real stories of resilience come to life. Each episode will bring you powerful conversations with people who face some of life's hardest challenges and turn them into sources of strength. We believe each story has power to heal, to inspire, and to remind us that we're never alone in this journey. Whether you're seeking hope, looking for inspiration, or simply need to know someone else has walked through fire and made it out, this is your space. A place where we rise together, a place where we grow, and a place where each story shared adds to the light in the world. So join us as we continue to grow, heal, and rise. Today on Voices of Hope, we're honored to welcome a woman of deep faith, compassion, and service. A devoted Christian and Jehovah's Witness for 40 years, she brings a powerful testimony of resilience, family, and purpose. Married for 38 years, she's a proud mother of 3 and grandmother to 5 beautiful grandchildren. Professionally, she's a dedicated registered nurse with a specialization in pediatrics, and her life work centers around advocating for the well-being of children. She's also the founder of a child care health consulting company that supports child care institutions in providing proper care and services for children with health care needs. Her passion for faith, family, and healing is at the core of everything she does. Please join me in welcoming a true light in the world, Stacey White.
Hey, Omar. Thank you so much. Thank you for that intro. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Thank you. Thank you for being on the show. Can you please just tell us more about yourself in your own words?
Well, again, I am a very spiritual person. I do believe that through prayer
Mm-hmm.
and devotion to God, that most of the things that I do are successful because of that. I believe that this message of hope needs to be shared with everyone so that they too can get a relationship with their Heavenly Father and know that there is a future for them.
Yeah, future and the hope.
Yes,
Yeah, those are 2 wonderful things to have. So thank you for joining the show with me, and I'm ready to get started if you are.
I'm ready.
All right. So the first question I have for you is, what was your toughest life challenge and how did you overcome it?
Well, Omar, when I was younger, when I was a teenager, I did become pregnant at a very young age. I was only 16 years old, and that was a very hard time for me. Back in those days, there wasn't much support. It was looked upon by my family as a very bad thing. I brought shame to my family, and I had to make a decision on was I going to keep this child or abort. My mom, who at the time was also a Christian, not one of Jehovah's Witnesses, she attended Episcopalian churches. I knew she loved children, I knew she loved people, but when I got pregnant, her advice to me, very strong advice, was to terminate the pregnancy.
Mm,
That was very hard because I had started studying the Bible with Jehovah's Witnesses, and something happened during that time that I didn't understand, and I made a poor decision to stop my studies with them. Well, anyway, when I was about to go and have this abortion the very same day, one of the women, one of the sisters in the congregation saw me standing at the bus stop,
mhm.
and she approached me saying that she hadn't seen me in a while. How was everything? And when she says, "How are you doing?" I just broke down in tears, and she wanted to know what was going on. I don't know why, but I opened up to her and I told her what I was about to do. I was I had a scheduled appointment to have this abortion. She pulled me to the side and using God's word, she advised me not to make that decision and to put my hope and faith in God. I
Mhm.
didn't know what that really meant at the time, how I was going to do that and how God was going to help me, but I did not have that abortion. I now have a beautiful daughter, 40. She's gonna be 43 years old at the end of
Wow.
this month.
That's beautiful.
So, but it was hard.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yes. Tell me about those challenges that you faced and how did you end up overcoming those challenges?
Well, one of the challenges, like I said, was my mom. So,
Okay.
and now to go back and tell her when she thought I was going to go have an abortion, she comes home from work and she sees me sitting there and she's like, "Okay, how did things go? Are you okay?" Only to tell her, "Well, I didn't go.
Mhm.
I'm going to keep this baby, but I would need her support. Please don't kick me out of the house." She took it hard, but she did agree to help me.
Okay.
So I did get support from somebody who did not want to give support, but she was very instrumental in helping me raise my daughter, at least until she was 5 years old. After 5, I was on my own. Going to school, because I was 16, so I'm in high school. Going to school was a challenge because back in those days, they didn't have accommodations for young girls who were pregnant. I was in a nursing program,
Mhm.
like a vocational school I attended in Brooklyn. So I was in a nursing program to become an LPN. And because I got pregnant, they claimed that their insurance was not going to cover me, even though I had excellent grades. I was doing quite well. They did remove me from the program, so that was really hard for me too.
Yeah.
Going across the graduation stage, stairs or stage, that was hard because I had my 1-year-old daughter in the
Mhm.
audience crying as I'm going across the stage. That was
Wow.
it was really
Wow. So
strange.
so okay, so you have a 1-year-old while you're graduating
High school.
high school.
Yes, at the time she
Wow.
was 1. Yeah, it was something else, but I did continue to do well with school while I was in high school.
How were you able to do that? How were you able to balance having a newborn child and and then still maintaining your grades?
That again has to be by the grace of God because
Grace.
I really don't know.
Uh-huh.
When I look back, I don't think I thought about another option. I had
Okay.
no other choice but to continue in my education because I needed to be able to provide for my daughter.
Mhm.
And I knew that if I didn't get at least a high school diploma, my options for financial support was going to be very limited. So again, my mom and my dad, excuse me, were very instrumental. They didn't kick me out. They didn't help me financially, but they at least allowed me to have a place to stay. And if and when I needed them, like for studies and finals and things like that, they would take my daughter take care of her for a while
Mhm.
I went and did my studies. My daughter was very she learned math, she learned science because I had to read to her. And so what am I going to read to her? I read my science books, my math books,
Oh.
and
Oh, wow.
so I'm doing my out loud studies with her. She's laughing, and I'm like, "This is difficult, baby. This is not funny." And she didn't understand, but that's what I did.
Wow, so she was trained to be a nurse at a very early age.
Very early age, and she's been a nurse, I guess, over 20 some odd years
Oh,
now.
wow, so she did become a nurse.
She did
Okay.
become a nurse. She
Yeah,
sure
yeah,
did. Well, she loves it. She loves it.
yeah.
So, yeah, that was part of the challenges. Another challenge that I had was, again, when her father came out of the military, because that's what happened. When he came out of the military,
Mhm,
now he wants to be a family, and
mhm.
I don't wanna be a family. I want to be the way it was, stay with my mom, have her support, be a single mom. I don't know what I was thinking, but we did eventually get married, and as you said in my bio, I've been married to him for 38 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so it was a you got married to your high school sweetheart.
Yeah, if you wanna call it that.
We'll go with that.
We'll go with that. That sounds good.
Okay, okay. So what lessons did you learn from that experience?
I learned that, 1, you can do a lot of things in life, but you can't do it alone. You need help. You need help from your Heavenly Father, and you need help from people around you who are positive, and they're not gonna tear you down, even if they don't want to help you, but they're positive in the sense of knowing that they have to. Like my mom, she was very disappointed in the fact that one, like I said, I had to come out of the nursing program, but I didn't have to come out of high school. So she had to accept that. She was a little disappointed that I decided to keep this baby. She was disappointed about a lot of things, but she also was very supportive in her own way.
So your help came from an unlikely source,
An unlikely source, which should have been a likely source, but yeah,
but the
the
circumstances.
circumstances
Right.
made it such. Yeah, because she was the one who had my back.
Yeah, she had your back. Yeah, and that's something that I talk about in depth in the Omega Principles, my book, is about reaching out and getting the help. 'Cause I talk about like how some people may think it's a weakness to ask for help, but really it's a strength because you can do so much more when you have the right help surrounding you and
That is
uplifting you.
that is so true. And I have found each day as I get older that sometimes people, as much as they want to, they may not be able to help you in all the ways you may need them to, but God is always there. Prayer is very powerful. It is
Mhm.
not a mental trick. It's not some type of, just saying words. But if you go to Jehovah and you talk to him like you would talk to your friend, just break it down, what your needs are, what's troubling you. You'd be surprised how he answers your prayers. Sometimes those answers, the way he answers your prayer is using another individual. Sometimes it's a scripture that just out of nowhere, like, here's your answer. Sometimes something you read, something you go to a group setting and another individual's going through something, and they tell you how they came through. You're like, "Oh, maybe I could try that, or maybe I could talk to this person and they can give me some advice."
Mhm.
So there's a lot of ways that prayer is answered. It's not like, a floating dove over your head, or, some kind of like I said, a magic trick. It's nothing like that. You'd be surprised how powerful prayer is, but you have to believe that your prayers are going to be answered, because if you don't believe, then it becomes like just an exercise to just be doing it.
Right, that's where the faith comes in,
That
having faith.
that's where faith
Right.
comes in. Yeah.
If you could speak to your younger self when you were going through going through that time, what would you say to her?
Keep believing, keep going. Don't stop, don't give up. This too shall pass. That has become my mantra. This too shall pass. Whatever we're going through, whether it be a health issue, a financial issue, a relationship issue, this too shall pass.
That's beautiful. Very, very powerful. All right, so we're going to switch gears here. We're going to start talking more about the mental health, mental illness, and what I call brain health. So, do you think that society still misunderstands mental illness? What are your thoughts on
Absolutely.
that?
Absolutely. I say it only because I work with young people as a peds nurse. I work with young ones who have experienced different traumas that they're expected to just snap out of it or ignore it. But our minds and our bodies are not made that way. This world that we're living in today is so different than it was, let's say, 40 years ago. And what's happening to our young people, especially, is not normal. And we're trying to tell them you should act normal, respond normal to non normal things.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, I still believe that mental health is misunderstood, especially with our young people.
So, what have you observed, like in your professional or personal life, in regards to mental health?
I have had experience working with children as young as 7 and 8 years old that are contemplating suicide.
Oh,
I've had where even their support systems, their parents, grandparents, or extended family have abused them, ignored them, berated them. And so they look for outlets, and the types of outlets that they look for are not healthy for them, either physically nor mentally. They may turn to drugs. I've had children as young as 10 years old using legal and illegal drugs
10 years
as
old?
young as 10 years old.
Oh my goodness.
I've had young 10-year-olds who are alcoholics. Yes, how they get it to become alcoholics is beyond me, but yes, they're drunk. They go to school drunk. They go to
Wow.
bed drunk. But
I'm speechless.
that's their way out, Omar. They're looking, it's not as though they want to be alcoholics or they want to be on drugs. They just want an out. They want something to ease the anxiety, the pain, the not being loved,
Yeah, I guess like in a way it's kind of self-medicating.
self-medicating. They don't even know that's what they're doing, but that's what
Right.
they're
That's
doing.
what they're doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it takes them away for a moment.
Mhm.
And for that moment, they're not thinking about the abuse they're experiencing at home or the neglect or any maltreatment. For them, they're in their own world and they like that alternate world.
Mm.
So they go back to it as often as they can.
You know, it's just so sad that they have to go to an alternate world to live in, you know.
It is sad. It would be great if that saying, it takes a village to raise a child, if it were really put into practice.
Right.
Most times, neighbors, you even hear it on the news, "Oh, she was such a oh, I loved him. He always had a smile." But did he really? Did you really know your neighbor? Did you really know the child? We sometimes neglect our neighbors, we neglect our family, we neglect our friends, and we just assume that they're doing okay, and we never really ask, "How are you doing? Hey, you wanna shoot ball, you wanna do something different," so
Mhm.
they can think and feel as though they have an outlet. Oftentimes, they have to create their own, what I call alternate world.
When you're working in pediatrics, what are some interventions that you do with the children to help them with these mental health issues?
Sometimes it's just as easy as giving them a smile and a hug.
Mhm.
You'd be surprised how many young people, when I say young now, I'm talking about those that I work with in the preschool levels, 3 and 4-year-olds who do not get hugs from their parents.
What?
They're more or less on their own. The parents seem as though because the child can talk and walk, they're a grown man or woman, and hence they should be on their own. They don't need to be told that I love you. They don't need that hug. I've seen the fake hugs, they come to grab them a little bit. Hey, go to class,
Yeah.
go to Miss So and so. Some of the parents have even had arguments with the teachers that the teachers should be the one giving them that type of attention.
Really?
Yes, the teacher should be the one hugging them because, they've come to me as a nurse. Well, that's your job as a nurse, but you're the parent. I don't think a lot of people who are parents understand what it means to be a parent. But nonetheless, the thing that I really believe, the simplest of things, affection and just giving hugs, something as simple as a hug, they don't get.
Right. Yeah, I'm just thinking now, thinking back to like your story. Like if your parents were like the parents that you are seeing nowadays, how would your story have been different, do you think?
I don't even want to go there.
Yeah.
And I don't know what my life would have been like without we're all human. We're going to make mistakes. We're not going to make each other happy all the time. Like I said, I know I disappointed my mom, but she did come through for me. I knew my mother loved me. These young ones, a lot of times, no one is telling them nor showing them that they love them. You may give your kid material things, you give them the latest gadgets or sneakers or whatever, but that's not telling a child that you love them. Quality time with them, reading a book to them, going out, taking a walk with them, giving them hugs. Real hugs, not, fake hugs. Children know the difference. They are very attuned to what's real and what's not real. With that, a child could be just a whole different child by just getting that type of attention. It's not a lot. It doesn't take a lot of time. It doesn't cost anything,
Mhm.
but it could change the trajectory, the
Yeah.
trajectory of a child's life.
Yeah, by a long shot. Yeah, because I know a lot of people, especially the psychology nerds out there, may have heard of Abraham Maslow's, hierarchy of needs. And one of the first levels of the needs is physical needs.
Mhm.
But I was reading a book, and I forget which book it was, to be honest. But what the author was trying to make the argument for was that love actually needs to be the first need that's met. Because when we come into this world, we're totally dependent, you know, and we are relying on the love of a caregiver for us to survive. And I remember in my studies in psychology, there was a study done with newborns, and it was about failure to thrive.
I remember that
You've heard of
study.
this. Do you
Yes.
want to go ahead and take it from here?
That these
Yeah.
children were not getting the love and attention. It was a nurse who was just going around hugging them and bonding with them, and these children began to thrive.
Hmm.
Yeah, it I tell you, that simple feeling of touch, a human touch to touch, it's amazing. But you know what I found, Omar, is that when a child is first born, many parents will give them that attention. They will coddle them, they will feed them, they will do all of that. But for some reason, somewhere along between 3 years of age to maybe 5 years of age, that whole lovey-dovey thing just seems to wane, and I don't know why. I don't know if it's the idea that someone else is now taking care of their child, such as childcare or the public school system. You have another individual involved, whereas when they were younger, it was left up to the parent to be there for that child. The child was dependent upon that parent. I'm not really sure what happened along the way, but what I'm saying to you is not in just one particular race. I work with children across all races, all nationalities, and I'm seeing it across the board.
Hmm.
That this idea of just letting the child go and not giving them affection and attention, and when you don't have that proper foundation when they're young like that, this is when you get to the 8, 9, and 10-year-olds that become addicted to drugs and to alcohol, self-abuse, anorexia, anything they can do to get attention or to go to their alternate world.
I'm just trying to wrap my head around that. How, like, these kids, they just need some love.
That's it.
Love goes a long way. Like we were talking about the infants, but like you're saying, the 3-year-old and older need that same love to thrive.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We all need it.
Yeah.
I'm going to be almost 60 and I still need it. This is we all need it. This is just human nature. This is the way we were created.
Right. Yeah. And to pull faith into it, we were created by a loving God.
That's right. That's right.
You
That
know?
that is absolutely right. Because we all remember the Genesis account that in the beginning, when God created the animals, he made two of every kind, but then he only made one man, Adam. And he saw that Adam needed a partner. So he created from that man's bones. All the other animals, they were created individually. You had a male giraffe separate from the female giraffe. He didn't take any bones from the male giraffe to make the female giraffe. They were made separate. But with humans, God took the bone from a man and helped create the woman because they're supposed to be that close,
Hmm.
and they're going to populate the earth and they're going to teach their children love and that we're all one big fat happy family. But we know the story. it
Yeah.
it didn't happen, it didn't go quite that way. So here we are now, where we're in this not normal world where people think you don't really need love anymore, but you really do. We
Yeah.
all do.
I wanna make a little shift. I know we had the episode, The Language of Hope. I know we discussed a little bit about that, and how, mental illness, can be reframed as brain health. Coming as a nurse, as a registered nurse, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, we should look at brain health the same way we look at heart health.
Mhm.
We look at circulatory health. If I go to my doctor and he's telling me that, I'm having heart disease, he's going to treat that. If he's telling me even if I had a brain tumor, they're going to treat that. But when it comes down to our mental health or our brain health, many times, I don't know if you've ever had it done for you. When I go to my doctor, I'm not picking on my doctor per se, but it's one of those things where his assistant is looking at her computer and she'll say something, are you depressed? Have you thought about hurting yourself? And she's looking at her computer. She's not looking at me. So even if I wanted to say, yes, I'm depressed. Yes, I tried to hurt myself. Yes. How could you say when the person's not even looking at you? They're not give you like they really even care. It's almost like, okay, what's your weight today? You know, did you eat something this morning? Because I want to take a blood test. They just go through the questions because it's a questionnaire that they have to
Mhm.
ask these questions when you're going for a physical, but no one's really taking the time to break it down. If you say, "Am I depressed?" and I say to you, "Well, what do you really mean by depression?" Are you depressed? Are you happy? Are you sad?
Mhm.
That's not what really depression means. Have you tried to hurt yourself? Well, what does that mean? Did I go and I was drinking, I got drunk and I was driving 100 miles and it means is that what you're asking me? What does that mean? They don't go into it.
Right.
So they're not looking at brain health, mental health, the same way they look at heart health or physical health. Because if I say to them, I'm having palpitations and I'm getting short of breath, all of a sudden now they're doing an EKG, they're doing all these different type of tests, and then they want to send you for a stress test, and they want to, get more, dig deeper into what's going on when you say you're having these symptoms. But if I said I had symptoms that of a mental health capacity, they really don't dig deeper. It's when you get to the point where you're really and your family is now wanting to make interventions or something's really going on, then now they want to refer you to someone else. I just feel like in healthcare, you should be dealing with the whole person and not just parts of the person. Mental health is part of that whole person, and that's what they need to deal with the whole person. Because, for me, I have found that if you can get the person's to their mental health on track, their physical health will follow.
Mhm.
They'll take care of themselves. I've had, like I said, young girls as young as 14, 15 years old that I have so many stories to tell, Omar. I don't know where to start, but I've had one
Oh, go ahead.
where
Yeah.
she was 14 years old, Omar, and she came into our clinic and she told me that she has had sex with 80 different men at 14.
Oh my goodness.
She comes in almost every 2 to 3 weeks to get shots for chlamydia. She doesn't care anymore. They give her $20, $30. Where are your parents? I don't know. They don't know. And but this girl's mental health, she's doing it because she wants attention. She lives at home with her father.
Mhm.
He's not the one orchestrating these different men coming in and out. This is her own doing because this is what she wants, attention. If we can help her with that, whatever it is she's searching for, she wouldn't keep coming in for treatments for chlamydia or anything or gonorrhea. She wouldn't keep coming into the office. She would have more self-respect for her. She would be able to help take care of herself even at 14, but not the path that she's going right now.
Mhm.
She's just one of, like I said, dozens of stories. I've had 10-year-old boys, a 10-year-old boy who was so drunk when he came in, but he says he drinks all the time.
Wow.
And the only reason he came in is because physically he's throwing up. Physically, he's having issues, the symptoms, but why is he drinking so much? That's a mental health
Right. Right.
thing going on with him. It's not the drinking is the problem. First, if we can fix, if you say, or we can get to the bottom of what's troubling him, he wouldn't drink like that.
Right. Get into the root cause.
Get to the root cause.
We may look at like these symptoms or like the resulting behaviors,
Correct.
but where is that coming from? Where is
Where
it coming from?
where is it coming from?
How do you think we should change the conversation surrounding mental health?
Well, again, I deal with children, so most times I have to deal with their parents or the teachers that are caring for them. And so what I need to do is to deal with them first,
Okay.
to see that that they have an integral part in their own child and their own mental health or brain health. They need to understand that their actions or inactions are having an impact on their child and their child's behavior and that child's mental health. So for me, it starts off with the one who's supposed to be the support system, the authority, the child, the child's parent or the child's teacher. So we have conversations about behavior, trauma, things that we also have to understand, because I've had conversations where the teachers are overwhelmed. And so they don't wanna deal with this child, and they're looking at this child as a bad child, their behavior is bad. Then they flip it on to the parents are bad. And so the child is being excluded from a lot of activities or not paid attention to. The child's picking up on these vibes. And so I have this conversation with the teacher that if you need to take 5 second, 10 second, 2 minute break, say something. Don't take it out on the child. Don't accuse the child, don't berate the child, don't exclude the child from activities simply because that child is not acting or behaving in a way that you can deal with at that time. Because I don't believe that the child is acting bad. The child is acting in a way that they're begging for attention. The teacher may not want to give that attention or doesn't they don't have the time to address that child's behavior. So for me, I have to help them, the adult person in the
Hmm.
room, to understand that they're not acting like an adult right now. They need to rewind. Let's do this again, and let's look at the big picture. Yes, this child has problems, but you're adding to that problem by your behavior towards that child. And so that's the way I try to go about it.
Right. I'm glad you brought that up because I think it doesn't get enough attention on how a parent or a caregiver's own mental health affects the child's mental health,
Yes.
and how the parents or caregivers' behaviors or lack of behavior, neglect, affects the child,
Yes.
you know? And it's like children are sponges, you know? They're gonna take in good and bad from whatever's going on in their environment. So if this parent or caregiver is acting in a way that's, bringing out whatever's going on with the child, it can either make it worse or it's gonna make it better,
You're right.
you know? My last question I have surrounding the mental health right now is, what's your perspective on medication, therapy, or alternative healing methods?
Both have their place.
Okay.
They have their place. There are some individuals, even young children, that can benefit from some medication. It helps them to stay focused. Therapy is really good if you got the right therapist, a therapist who understands not just the mental health of that child or what's possibly could be going on in the family and the dynamics, but also that child's culture. Culture plays a big role in mental health of, we can't treat everybody the same.
Right.
Therapy should not be a one size fits all. Each child is different, each family is different, each individual adult is different. Their culture, their background, all of that plays into that person's oneness, their wholeness.
Right.
Now, is it possible to get a therapist who understands all of these different dynamics? Possibly. Many times you have to search.
Yeah. And I'm going to be quite frank. In the Black community, it's hard to find a therapist that looks like us. In my program at Rutgers, I was the only Black male in my cohort, you know, and I have yet to find a Black psychologist, male psychologist. I had a Black female psychologist, but there's not much representation in the field, you know? And that goes a long way in, being able to relate, to a mental health provider,
Mm.
feeling comfortable, getting those walls down.
That is so true. It's easier to trust someone who looks like you believe they understand your culture, because even within the Black race, we have different cultures,
Mhm.
but you that trust level is there. Again, I in my clinic that I used to work in, now we were in the Bronx. The Bronx, a section of the Bronx that mostly were Black and Hispanics, but most of the clinicians were all white.
Mhm.
And they came with the attitude, not to knock any of them down, but they came with the attitude that they're just there to do a job.
Right, exactly.
I some of them were there as interns, whatever they were there to do, but they were there to do a job. They were not Their goal was not to stay in that community. It was to get my experience, put it on my resume, and then I'm gonna move on and take care of whomever they're gonna take care of. We need like I said, the therapy for the one individual is fine, but you need to have family therapy also, because the family is part of that individual. It's your whole support system, whether it be your significant other, your whatever it is, that person plays a role in your mental health. And so it should not be just that one on one. One on ones are great, but also you need a group support.
Yeah, yeah, I agree, because if one person in the system is struggling, it's gonna have an effect, and, most likely the other members of the family, or let's say the village, are gonna have an effect on that person, with that's like there's only so much you can do within the four walls of a therapy office. But then once that person leaves the office, they gotta go back to all this stuff. You only work with the person in the office.
Correct.
That's why I do agree that we have to bring the
Sometimes
families
you have to,
involved.
and
Yeah.
the family needs therapy too. They need to understand what their role is. Sometimes family members don't even realize that they're enabling certain behaviors.
Mhm.
They're thinking I'm showing love, but you're not really showing love. You're condoning and enabling a person to continue. You hear the story of the family who has a family member who's an alcoholic, and they feel that, okay, by throw away all the alcohol, I hide the alcohol, or I have a drink when they're not around, that I'm helping that individual. You're not really helping, because that person's issue of alcoholism is deeper than the alcohol itself. They need the whole family to understand what is that individual going through, why they just can't put that bottle down, why they always have to have a drink. Because the alcohol is not in the house doesn't stop that person from accessing alcohol. If they need alcohol, they're going to get the alcohol. I've had some wives who their husbands are alcoholics, and the wife would call the job and make excuses for the husband that
Mhm.
day because he can't get up to go to work, but she understands he needs to keep the job. And so she's the one calling, "Oh, my husband can't come in. She's making up all types of stories." All you're doing is enabling. They need to understand what their role is in that other individual's mental health, and that mental health and their behavior that comes along with it.
Right. Yes, that is very important, getting a whole picture. Just one person isn't the full picture.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. Although we're individuals, we're part of a community.
Yes, exactly. All right, so the last series of questions I want to ask you have to do with success. I love talking about success. That's what the Omega principles are all about. Good success, actually. But what does success look like for you?
Having a good relationship with Jehovah is successful to me. Money is not it, because money comes, money goes. Having material things is not it. It comes, it goes. Having family and friends and having that relationship with God is what's successful, in my
Mhm.
opinion.
Mhm. Okay. So have you been successful at that?
I would say so. I have a
Mhm,
good relationship with Jehovah. I know he's hearing my prayers. I go to him with even the minuteness of things. I have good relationships with my family
mhm,
and with my people who are in my congregation. Anyone, for the most part, is because I try to treat people the way I would like to be treated. That's the golden rule that Jesus
mm,
taught us. Do unto others as you would have them do for you.
right, exactly. So what has helped you to be successful?
Well, the Bible talks about having a spiritual sense, knowing that you're not in this world alone has helped me to look at what is successful.
Mhm,
You're not going to do everything right. We are humans and we are going to make mistakes. But knowing that you can come up or learn from your mistakes, not giving up is successful.
mhm.
You're going to fall, but as long as you don't stay down and you get up, that's successful.
Mm, I like that. Being able to get back up.
Get back up.
Another scripture, a just man may fall 7 times, but he rises again.
He rises again.
Yeah, yeah. Something I like to ask people is what is like a personal philosophy that you have or a mantra that you always go to? I know you had said before about not giving yourself options. Is that like a personal philosophy for you?
Yes, I have to get it done. There's
Mhm.
no other option. You know, I remember when I was younger, I guess I was a teenager, and I know this sounds really silly, but I'm gonna share it with you. I'd bought these pair of shoes that were the most uncomfortable pair of shoes, but I was like, I maybe am half a mile away from home. There was no bus I can take, didn't have a cell phone I can call somebody, "Can you give me a ride?" It was not the type of weather where you can just walk barefoot. So I had to walk in these shoes. I had no other option. I was going to make it home, and my only thought was when I got home, I was going to throw away these shoes, soak my feet. I had no other option. And I don't know why I always relay back to that experience that when I get myself into a situation, this is the decision I'm making. I'm not going to falter on this decision because I have no other option.
Yeah, that's such a powerful philosophy you have there. It kind of reminds me of philosophy I had learned from Tony Robbins. He's a motivational speaker, life coach, all those things. And he gave this analogy of a commander that had to take an island. And when the army went to the island, the commander told them to burn the boats so that there's no retreat. You have no other option but to conquer the island. And they did, you know. So that reminded your philosophy. There's no option. Just you have to do it.
You have to do it.
Yeah. It's like turning your shoulds into musts,
Must.
you know? A lot of people say, "Oh, I should go to school," or I should, you know, get a new job." When you change it to must, I must get it done.
Must get it done. And you do it. Again, you're not gonna do it successfully all of the times. You may fall, you may make a wrong decision along the way, but if you keep that goal in mind that I have no other option, this is what's going to happen, then you make it happen. I gave you the example or my when I was younger and I had my daughter at 16, I had to finish school. And once I finished school, I was fortunate enough to get a scholarship to go to college. And again, I had no other option. If I did not succeed, I don't know. I don't even want to think what the alternate was. And for me, that was my only option. I didn't put anything else in the book. I didn't have anything else that, well, if A, here's my B plan. There was no B plan, no other option.
Yeah, you made it happen.
It had to happen.
So what legacy are you hoping to leave behind? What contributions do you want to make to the world?
Well, I would hope that my children, family, friends would always think of me as the person they can always call on and rely on when they need something. I'm always there.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
And if I can give advice, I give advice. But if I can't, I mind my business.
Just mind your business.
Mind my business.
Okay. What gives you hope?
That there's going to be a better future. Even though the world is not normal right now, the Bible does promise a time where we will live in a much, much better condition, where everyone will be righteous. Everyone will love their neighbor would love them, and we will live in a peaceful, peaceful world.
Yeah.
That's my hope.
Yeah, I hope for that future as well. And the last question I want to ask, what would you like to say to someone who is struggling and looking for hope?
It's out there. Make it your mission to find it. The first place to start is with prayer and being specific in your prayers, not just, oh, God, help me. God, help me with whatever that is. It could be something as simple as, God, help me to get to know who you are. Who's God? Why should I be praying to God? Things like that is what you have to start with. You have to have a relationship with your Heavenly Father. Without that relationship, it's so much more difficult to find, like you said, the last question, success, to
Mhm.
find hope. You have to start there. And from there, you'll see your path will be guided, will be made for you when you start studying the scriptures and finding out what God's will is for you. And you take that guidance, you will find success, you will find hope. It's based on faith, but the Bible does tell us that God cannot lie. And no one who rests their hope on him will be disappointed.
Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I really think that someone just heard that and it clicked for them, So thank you for sharing that and spreading hope. That's
Thank
what
you.
we do here. Thank you for your time. It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you, Omar. It was a pleasure being here.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. This has been Voices of Hope. I'm Omar Kenyatta Clark. Until next time, let's rise. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Voices of Hope. Your time and attention mean the world, and we hope today's conversation has inspired and encouraged you. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe so you never miss a moment of hope. We're all part of this community, and your voice matters. If you're ready to share your own story of resilience and become a voice of hope, reach out to me directly at omarkenyattaclark@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. And of course, stay tuned for our next episode. We've got more powerful stories and inspiring voices coming your way, and I can't wait for you to be a part of it. Until then, remember, we rise together.